Hey everyone, today I will be rating the performances of the drivers in F2 for the 2024 British Grand Prix. Let me know if you agree and post your driver ratings down in the comments below. Let's start as always with the ART team. Victor Martins, a 7. Martins would have been hoping for more points this weekend after only picking up 10 points post-qualifying in second. However, in the sprint race he worked his way up well to 6th, but his teammate sent one down the inside on a wet track and left Victor Martins spinning out, eventually retiring. Then in the feature, he got away well to lead the race, but when it came time to pit into the hard tyre, he went a lap later than a lot of his main rivals and could not generate enough heat and tyre temperature, which meant that he was a bit slower on his outlap, and he dropped down the order to 5th, where he stayed there for the race. An okay weekend and had a good pace, but bad luck and strategy killed his podium hopes. Zach O'Sullivan, I'll give a 4. Martin's teammate had a worse weekend and will be apologising for the crash with his teammate. He qualified in 14th and did an amazing job to climb up to 7th in the sprint, then threw it all away with a lunge on Martins, which also left him stranded. He managed to get up into 11th in a more conventional feature race, but couldn't muster the points this weekend. Another showing of strong pace, but poor qualifying performance and race execution from the ART team. Prema Racing with Oliver Behrman gets a 6. The weekend where he was announced as a 2025 Haas driver could have gone a bit better. Friday was okay, as he qualified 5th, which is a strong position for both races, but he had to retire in the sprint with issues in the car. He did find himself in second during the first laps of the feature race after getting a good start, but he had a bad outlap when he pitted, and which resulted in him dropping down a few places, where he struggled to improve and he getting 7th overall. Another struggle of a weekend, but he won't care as the F1 seat is confirmed. Andrea Kimi Antonelli gets an 8. He qualified in 10th and retained the sprint race pole position for an impressive and first win for the soon-to-be F1 driver. The feature race would have been exciting for him too if it wasn't for Miney giving him a bump on the first lap, resulting in a DNF. Ultimately, Mercedes will be impressed with his debut season in Formula 2, remaining vigilant despite a difficult car as shown by Bam's difficulties. I'm not sure if he's ready for the full step up to Mercedes in F1, or maybe just a little one to Williams, but let me know what you think, whether he's going to go Williams or Mercedes down in the comments. Road and Motorsport next with Zane Maloney. I'm going to give him a 10 this weekend. I almost gave him a 9, but I think a drive like this on a difficult track that Silverstone is on these conditions is impressive, especially given the lack of confidence he had coming into the weekend. But then after an okay qualifying in 9th, he held on to it, similarly to Antonelli in the sprint, to earn a 2nd place for the sprint. He then worked his way up in the feature race with strong race pace and a good strategy to earn a podium post the Crawford penalty. This is the form Maloney needs to keep to challenge for the title. He also cost the feature race win due to the unsafe release of Crawford, making him be stuck behind and kind of lose time overall to Hadjar. So I think he could have won that race despite that impeding in the pits. So if he didn't have that, who knows, but Hadjar was strong anyway, so yeah. Tomietta, he gets a 3. His hot and cold form in qualifying remains as he comes back from Austria to qualify to start with the top 10 and 11th. He didn't do much in the sprint and earned 1 place up to 10th, although not enough points for the sprint because the sprint race is 8th and above. He did try to go longer in the feature race, but it wasn't the optimal strategy and finished down in 17th. I am actually kind of skeptical of what Toyota decide what to do with Mieta next year. Should he return to Japan, like go race back in Super Formula? Or should they continue with their kind of hopes of him being their WEC driver? So once again, let me know in the comments if you think he should go back to Japan or go to WEC. Or maybe even another year in F2, who knows. With Dams, with Jack Crawford, I'll give him a 7. He continues his 3 weekend long point scoring run with double points and 1 podium here in Britain. 7th in qualifying, which is strong for both races, as he converted to a 6th in the sprint race after being jumped in the start by both Invictors, but his feature race was much better, as although he did come across the line of first, a penalty for impeding under an unsafe release to Maloney, as mentioned before, caused him to drop down to 3rd place. Still a podium, but he looked so disappointed in the old cool down room. His teammate Juan Manuel Correa, I'll give a 2. he got 12th in the sprint and 20th in the feature race after poor qualifying down in 15th. A boring weekend overall for Correa, who didn't really do much apart from a few incidents. It's nice to have him back, but I wonder for how much longer given the impressive performances of his teammate. And Victor Racing now with Kush Miney, who I'm giving a 7. He qualified in 8th and stayed there in the sprint to cut Cole of 3rd. He did hit Antonelli in the feature, which left him with damage and no race pace, making him come over the line in last and 19th. It could have been a 6th, but I think the podium deserves a little more. Gabriel Bortoleto, a 7 honestly. Another strong weekend for the Bortoleto as he qualified in 6th. Then didn't make up any positions in either race to remain with the 4th in the sprint and the 6th in feature. It's not like Monaco where overtaking isn't a thing, so he could have done better, but at least he didn't drop back in the order, so it's a quite strong Bortoleto. He took what he was given from qualifying, but not much more than that. MP Motorsport with Dennis Hauger, a 6. Hauger's final performance of a 3rd in qualifying will ultimately put a dampener on the race result, as he knows he could have gone a bit more out of them. An okay sprint, like most of the drivers, not many positions gained, staying in 7th. But then the feature race started and with a terrible getaway, leaving him fighting down the back of the order in the points, the mid-pack, where he finished an eventual 9th. Hauger has been fine this year, but not spectacular. Franco Colapinto, a 7. Although he did qualify one position behind his teammate, in 4th, he ultimately had the better weekend, as he did climb a position or 2 in the sprint, then remained 4th in the feature race, which is still a good result. Colapinto has really emerged as a very strong driver who will potentially hopefully keep in the sport over the next few years and keep the F2 exciting as a more mature, experienced driver until Williams have a space for him, which might be next year. Who knows? Who knows? It's all very exciting. Now we have the VAR team with Enzo Fittipaldi, a 5. Was actually out-qualified by his teammate, which is really poor given Raphael's form as he came 20th, but did more to improve in the feature race to 8th, which is a really strong performance because going from almost last to 8th is if it was an F1, everyone would praise him to high heavens, but it's just an F2, so it's very good, but he's not going to get an amazing praise for it. This came due to pitting on the right lap early on and keeping up with the front runners reasonably well. I would suggest Enzo attempts at getting a WEC seat or IndyCar seat in the near future, maybe next year, while his stock is high enough. Otherwise, he risks being a reserve driver like his brother Pietro. His teammate Rafael Villagomez, a 2. I'm not going to spend long on Rafael as this puts more pressure on a driver who shouldn't have made the step up from F3 this year. I think he wasn't ready for the step up. He got 17th in qualifying, up to 14th in the sprint race, and 16th in the feature. F2 is too competitive for him, so hopefully he improves or moves on to another series where it's more his level, because he didn't do very well in F3 last year, and now he's not doing very well in F2 this year, so hopefully someone with more talent, or maybe he can find his talent, and that comes to replace him for VAR next year. Cordillon didn't have the best of weekends, where he came 15th in both races. I'm going to give him maybe a 2. It's pretty unspectacular, especially compared to his teammate. Although Paul Aaron's lackluster weekend helps to ease the burden on Cordillon of living up to the expectations of his much more better performing teammate. But now we move on to Paul Aaron, who I'm only going to give a 3 this weekend. Although he was fast in qualifying, a stupid spin at the start of his last lap left him in 12th. In the sprint, he was defending another dive down the inside by O'Sullivan, which ruined his line, going to a straight on a wet track, which resulted in him not getting a very good getaway, and eventually Marty coming right through the back of him, crashing into him, ruining both their races. The feature race wasn't much better, as points were definitely on until he squeezed Dirksen too much, which made him crash out, and then making him have a 2-stop race, leaving him down in 12th that race. So ultimately a good recovery for a 2-stop, but if he didn't have that 2-stop, he could have easily been in a strong points position like a lot of the other races that we saw this weekend. An ultimately terribly weekend for his standards, but still a lot better than a lot of other drivers. So it's not going to be 1 or 2, but a 3 is acceptable. It will hurt more, given he lost the championship lead, but it is what it is, and he will try to remain calm and improve next time out in Hungary. Campos, with Isaac Hadjar, an 8. A strong weekend for Hadjar as he cements himself as the favourite over Aaron. Something that has felt like it's going to come for a while, given Hadjar's determination and brutal mindset. He earned pole with a very quick lap of a quarter of a second above anyone else, then had a spin in the sprint to knock any chances of winning that race, and he retired eventually in the gravel. The feature race was much better, as he did manage to hold on to P1 at the first corner, but a smart strategy and a strong pace reclaimed him the win and the lead after Crawford's eventual penalty for impeding Maloney. He could have been better, though he did well in the sprint, especially given his main rival, Aaron, had a horrible weekend. He could have been even further ahead, but he's ahead, and that's all that matters. Pepe Marti, I'm only going to give him a 5. He got 19th in qualifying, and a retirement in the sprint, driving him into the back of a slow Aaron. Neither of their fault, but just unfortunate really, a racing incident. Did well to work his way up to 10th for a single point in the feature, as he's one of the only ones to make the long strategy, the alternate strategy work alongside Colapinto. He has been overly poor compared to Hadjar this season, although most drivers alongside Hadjar would look poor, so you can't block him down too much, and as a rookie especially, so hopefully he uses this year as a betting in year. Trident with Richard Verschoor, a 4. He has not scored points since Imola, and sadly did not here either. He qualified well on 13th, which gave him some strong options for points, kind of like either strategy, but he could not make anything work or stick as he stayed around those spots in both races. Roman Stennek, a 5. He qualified last and came 18th in the sprint. So how did he score so high in my ratings? Well, he showed absolutely the fastest pace on the track, apart from Antonelli in the wet sprint race, to go from last to 8th and earn a singular point. A great drive which deserves at least a 5, so he gets a 5 because he doesn't deserve anything more than that given the race of his weekend. AIX Racing next with Joshua Dirksten, a 2. His vein of qualifying form finished this week as he slotted down in 16th. He remained there in the sprint and tried to move on Aaron, where he got squeezed onto the grass, which wasn't his fault. Overall, not a great weekend, out and stops the points scoring run. So that's done for Dirksten, so now he has to kind of start a new one. So, a bit of an opportunity to kind of reset going into Hungary. Taylor Barnard gets a 4, double the score of his teammate. He qualified in 21st, and like Sternek, showed great sprint race pace to work up to 9th. But 9th doesn't get points in the sprint race. Similar effort was shown on Sunday, but no points were earned as he finished in 14th. Both of these AIX drivers have shown their kind of enough of their character and their pace to stay at AIX next year, or kind of get a call up to a more prestigious F2 seat. So hopefully we see them kind of build on their roles into the future. These are my ratings. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Peace. Please subscribe as well. Trying to reach 1,500 subscribers.